If not, that's also okay. Thanks a lot. Okay, thank you. Then we go on and we go into it. Oh, sorry. A little bit into more details of how we can use the Danube platform with a specific extension. And I welcome on stage Giulia Biagioni. She's from TNO, but she implemented, and you can see that a little bit already in the title, a compliance engine based on, not on directly on code, but you will tell a little bit more how you base that. But that would be the modules, the ecosystems are supposed to provide within the Danube platform, and then you automatically having individual rooms. You remember what Klaus said about the Gaia-X trust protocol. We separate the rules, like your rules, and you will explain about them. We separate them from the interoperability, the trust infrastructure to make that work between ecosystem. Please, Giulia, the floor is yours. Here is the clicker. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, so I know that I am the last obstacles between you and lunch, so I will try to maintain the presentation light and engaging, hopefully. So, I am Giulia Biagioni. I'm working as a scientist at TNO, which is the Dutch Research Center for Applied Scientific Research. And I'm also working at the Center of Excellence for Data Sharing and Cloud of the Netherlands. Today, I will present the work that I have done with also my colleagues Koen Leeuwen and Bart Driessen regarding the integration of Danube with the Myrtus Project. Now, what is Myrtus? Let's start from that. Myrtus is an European project on the topic of cognitive computing continuum, which is running from 2024 to 2026. So the end of this year will be the end of the project. So Myrtus aimed to create a solution to orchestrate the cloud fog edge continuum in a sustainable and secure way. And to do this, it used three fundamental pillars. So we have a reference architecture for the orchestration of cloud, fog, and edge. We have a design and programming environment where we develop some tools and methods for fostering interoperability. And then we have an AI cognitive engine enabling the orchestration, optimization, and autonomous decision-making process across the ecosystem. Now, when new parties want to join the ecosystem, our AI cognitive engine leverages a compliance service which uses Gaia-X verifiable presentation in order to check whether the parties comply to the rules specified by Myrtus. And this is the strategy that we use also for creating trust within Myrtus ecosystem. How does this work? So the parties have to present a verifiable presentation. This one will be evaluated by a compliance engine which uses the Myrtus rules. The Myrtus rules are represented in SHACL shape, and then if the party is compliant, then can join our ecosystem. The rules that we define concern three specific aspects. So we require that the subject must have a valid registration number and lay code. We also require that the subject must be based in the European Union, and then we check whether the subject has accepted all the Gaia-X legal terms and conditions. Now, regarding the compliance engine, thus far I was referring to it without giving a specific name, right? And this has a reason why. Initially, from the Gaia-X compliance framework, we used just the verifiable presentation and also embedding verifiable credential. Therefore, we also developed our own compliance engine, which was based basically on the Myrtus type of development. And we presented already our work on the summit in Porto. There, we heard about Danube. So Danube was presented and introduced to us, and we were super much looking forward integrating with it. So therefore, from January to now, we have worked on this integration. Now, let's see how did we transition from the previous approach and the current approach. So previously, as I was addressing before, we were just using the verifiable presentation, and we would take care of the coding and verifying, and also the SHACL validation part of the verification, with using our rules. Now, we just delegate the full process to Danube, and we just provide our Myrtus rules. So we provide an URL, which is fantastic for us, because now we have just to worry about our SHACL rules. Furthermore, we output now a compliance report in the form of a verifiable credential. And this, basically, verifiable credential will be signed using the centralized identifier, which comes directly from Myrtus. So this one is the new also addition. Now, I will show you, so more than I, actually my colleague Koen, that we already registered record video, will discuss and present to you a little bit further regarding how this process works in practice.
Hello, and welcome to the Myrtus Gaia-X Danube Compliance Framework demonstration. Today we'll show how the Myrtus project uses the Gaia-X Danube Compliance Framework to verify whether a partner is eligible to join a Myrtus cluster. Before we start the live demonstration, let's briefly look at the compliance validation process and the different steps involved. When a partner wants to join the Myrtus platform, 3 validation steps are performed. First, the partner provides a verifiable presentation, or VP. This VP contains a set of claims describing the partner and is encoded as a JSON Web Token, or JWT, which is digitally signed by the issuer. Second, this VP is sent to the Gaia-X Danube platform, where the JWT is decoded and its signature is verified. This confirms that the presentation is authentic and it was issued by the entity it claims to represent. If the verification succeeds, the decoded content of the VP becomes available for further processing. Third, the decoded VP is validated against a set of Myrtus-specific compliance rules. These rules are defined in a SHACL shape, which is hosted by the Myrtus platform. The Danube platform evaluates all verifiable credentials contained in the presentation against these rules and determines whether they conform. If all validations succeed, the partner satisfied the Myrtus trust requirements and can proceed with the cluster peering process. Now, let's see this process in action. The usual entry point is the Gaia-X compliance dispatcher, shown here. Normally, we would simply submit a JWT containing the verifiable presentation and let the platform perform all compliance checks automatically. However, to better understand what happens behind the scenes, we'll first use the Danube Basic Functions API directly. Here, we will submit a prepared JWT for verification and decoding. If we send it in the validation endpoint, we will see that the result contains 3 verifiable credentials. The first credential states that the subject is a legal entity established in the Netherlands. The second credential confirms acceptance of the Gaia-X legal terms and conditions. The third credential identifies the subject as a registered legal entity. So having verified the authenticity of this presentation, we can now perform the compliance validation step. For this request, we will take the content of the decoded verifiable presentation and put it in the SHACL shape validation endpoint in the content here, together with the URL where the SHACL shapes are provided. If we execute this request, after a little while, we will see that a conformance report is returned stating that the shape matches the verifiable presentation. If instead we would change the request slightly, where the entity would be located outside of Europe or in a non-existent country, we see that in fact the report is not conformant because the country must be within the European Union. Now, let's take the original JWT and return to the compliance dispatcher. When we send the full JWT here, and select the Myrtus compliance scope, then all validation checks and compliance checks are executed automatically. The result is a compliance report, also encoded as a JWT. If we take this and decode it using the same endpoint, we can get the compliance report, and we can see that we provide evidence of all required rules and that in fact the VP matches the Myrtus cluster requirements. This concludes our demonstration of the Myrtus Gaia-X Danube compliance framework. Thank you for your attention, and we hope that this demonstration has shown how Myrtus combines Gaia-X trust mechanisms and compliance validation to enable secure and trustworthy collaboration across distributed cloud environments.
Okay, so for us, there are some incredible benefits in delegating the validation process completely to Danube. One of which is that we don't have any more to worry regarding the maintenance of the compliance engine, but only about our rules and shapes. So every time we have just that we want to update basically our rules, we just have to change them directly and provide the location directly of where these shapes are located through the URL. Then we also now fully align with the process of Gaia-X compliance framework by integrating completely also with Danube, so not only using the Gaia-X verifiable presentation and credential. And this hopefully can also foster further interoperability across the ecosystem because our rules can be reused. So thank you very much. If you would like to know more about Myrtus Project, you can scan the first QR code, while if you would like to know more about all our research activity performed at the Center of Excellence for Data Sharing and Cloud, you can scan the second one. And ultimately, we would like actually to thank very much Delphine and Giuditta because they help us super much with this process of integration. So thanks.
Thanks very much for providing the second extensions, actually, to the Danube. We have a little bit of time. Any questions, any immediate questions before lunch? If not, you will stay around so you can Hester and ask her privately.
Yes, exactly.
I think that is, so I know actually that this is the last, thanks again, that this is the last, was the last presentation before our lunch. We will meet hopefully again at 2 o'clock with a panel of some of the Gaia-X evangelists reflecting a little bit on the past and also what we need to do in order to scale potentially beyond what X-Road has achieved. 600 million users is quite nice, so maybe why not go for 1 billion in a couple of years. So thanks a lot, enjoy the lunch, and we'll meet. I will push you a little bit and show you at 2 o'clock for the panel with the Gaia-X evangelists. Thanks a lot and happy networking.